Welcome to Omega Bonda Stories. Let's begin.
I signed it because my hands were trained to move before my fear could speak. The folder was black and heavy and stamped urgently in someone else's handwriting. I was an Omega assistant in the legal department. Print, stamp, carry, disappear. The note said the signature needed no delays. I should have checked the routing. I should have read the header twice. Instead, I swallowed my anxiety and flipped to the last page. 2 lines. Counterparty. Witness. I was always the witness. A yellow tab pointed. I signed. My name looked small against expensive paper. I stamped it and sent the folder up the private elevator. Then I went back to emails and coffee and pretended my patch could keep the world from smelling my nerves. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a number I did not recognize. You just pledged your life. Report to the 49th floor. Do not run. My stomach dropped. I opened our system to pull the scan. The file slot was empty. No archive. No record. Only a clean hole where the contract should have been. My supervisor looked up like she had been waiting. She said the CO requested you. Go. The CO was an enigma. Silent. Fierce. Emotionally controlled. The kind of alpha who could end a career with one calm sentence. I told myself it was a misunderstanding. I told myself witnesses do not die for paperwork. The private elevator rose into silence. When the doors opened, the hallway was wide and soundless. 2 guards stood by a glass door. They glanced at my badge and then at my throat. One opened the door without a word. The office was dim with rain light on the windows. A man stood near the city like it belonged to him. He turned and my instincts went still. Not flaring, not begging, just still like a small animal freezing in tall grass. He did not ask my name. He said it. My name in his voice sounded like a decision already made. He gestured to a chair. I sat because my knees were weak. He placed the black folder on the desk. My signature line showed at the bottom. I whispered that I only witnessed. I whispered that the tab was pointing there. He opened the folder and turned one page. My signature was not on the witness line. It was on the line that said consenting party. A cold spread through my chest. The words beside my name were small and final. Life bond agreement. Failure to comply results in termination. Termination was written like a corporate joke. My body understood the real meaning anyway. This was a death contract. Not court. Not fines. Bodies. He slid a second page toward me. A list of obligations and dates. The final line made my vision pulse. Delivery of the pledged Omega within 72 hours. I pressed my palm to my throat like I could hold my scent inside. I whispered that I did not agree. I whispered a mistake. I whispered please. He leaned forward slightly, but he did not crowd me. His calm filled the space like a shield. You were targeted, he said. I shook my head. Why would anyone target me? I was a temp. I was invisible. I was alone. Because you are easy to move, he said. Because they want to use you to reach me. The room tilted. My life was suddenly a thread tied to his. I forced my voice to work. What happens to me now? He looked at my throat and then at my eyes. Claim, he said. My instincts sparked and recoiled. The claim was not romance in my world. Claim was ownership dressed as safety. I stood. I said no. I said I want to leave. He did not touch me. He only spoke. If you walk out that door, you will be taken before you reach the lobby. I hated that I believed him. I hated that his warning sounded like protection. He placed a phone on the desk. Call anyone you trust. Tell them where you are. Then you decide. Choice cracked through my panic. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. My pulse hammered so loud I thought the guards could hear it. I pictured hands on my arms and a hood over my head and the city swallowing my scream. I pictured my mother's voice telling me to keep my head down and survive. I pictured every time I signed without reading because I was tired of being difficult. He waited. No pressure. Only time. Outside the office, I heard footsteps. Too many. Too fast. The guard at the door swallowed and looked at the Enigma as if even fear needed his permission. Before I could dial, the door opened. A guard stepped in with a tablet. His voice was tight. They are here. The Enigma rose. His presence shifted from still too sharp. He looked at me and his voice lowered. They came for you early. Now you either trust my claim or you die under someone else's contract. I could not move. The word claim sat between us like a blade wrapped in silk. The guard in the doorway said they were here as if the building had been breached. I stared at the phone in my hand and realized I did not know who to call. No one in my contacts could outrun a death contract. The Enigma spoke into his collar in a low voice. Lock the floor. Route them away. No harm. Then he looked at me. You decide now, he said. Not forever. Only now. I forced words out. If I say yes, what does the claim mean? It means my name covers you, he said. It means the contract cannot be executed without crossing me. My skin went colder. Crossing him sounded like a rule the world obeyed. I shook my head. What does it mean to you? He held my gaze. It means I take responsibility, he said. It means you get to live. The guard swallowed. They are requesting you by name, he said. They say you are theirs. Hearing mine said like property made my stomach twist. The Enigma stepped closer but still kept space. You can refuse, he said. If you refuse, I will protect you with force. But the contract will follow you. They will keep trying. If you accept my claim, I can crush it at the root. I whispered, how do I accept it? He placed a small recorder on the desk. Your voice, he said. Your limits. Your choice. You can leave later, but you must choose now. He turned it on and waited. No script. No pressure. Only time. My lungs burned. Then I spoke into the recorder. I accept the Enigma claim for protection only. No touch without permission. No bond beyond legal cover. I keep my right to leave when the threat is gone. He listened like my words mattered more than his power. Accepted, he said. On my terms and yours. His scent shifted. Not flooding. A controlled calm that made my patch feel steadier for one breath. I hated the relief. I needed it anyway. He guided me through a private corridor into a quiet suite. Soft light. Water. A blanket. A white noise device already running. He placed a new badge in front of me. Temporary access, he said. So you do not get trapped again. My phone buzzed. A new message from the unknown number. Nice choice. Now we know where you are. My blood froze. This floor was supposed to be sealed. The Enigma read it and his jaw tightened for a fraction. Trace it, he said into his collar. Now, I turned to him. How are they still here? Because someone inside opened a door, he said. Because someone wants to test my claim. He paused. Then he added one sentence that landed like steel. Claiming you makes me a target too. A knock came. A senior lawyer stepped in with pale eyes. The board is panicking, he said. Law enforcement is downstairs. They have a complaint of unlawful detainment. My stomach dropped. They were building a story where I was the evidence. The Enigma nodded once. Bring them up, he said, and call my ethics counsel. The lawyer left. I sat on the edge of the couch and tried to remember what safety felt like before paperwork turned into a weapon. My patch itched where stress made my skin hot. I kept expecting him to step closer and take control the way alphas usually do when an Omega trembles. Instead, he sat across the room with his hands open on his knees where I could see them. A quiet proof that my body was not his property. I wanted to hate him for the power he carried. I wanted to blame him for the danger that chased his name. But the contract had my signature. My mistake. My life. When the white noise filled the space, it felt like he built a small shelter inside the storm. That made my chest ache in a way I did not understand yet. The suite felt smaller. My hands trembled. My voice was on the recorder. My choice. Still fear ran hot. The Enigma looked at me. If you want to leave before they arrive, you can, he said. I will escort you. I will not stop you. I believed him. That belief felt dangerous. I whispered, if I leave now, do I die? He held my gaze. Not tonight, he said, but soon. They will not stop until the contract is void. The elevator chimed softly outside. Footsteps approached. Too measured. Too official. The Enigma moved to the door and placed himself between me and the hall. Stay behind me, he said. The door opened and a uniformed officer stepped in with a warrant and my name at the top. The officer stepped into the suite like the badge on his chest owned the air. He looked at me once and then at the Enigma as if he already had a story ready. Unlawful detainment, he said. Possible coercion. Welfare check. My hands went numb. If I spoke wrong, I would feed their narrative. If I stayed silent, I would look afraid. Either way, my fear could be used. The Enigma lifted the recorder from the table and set it down gently. He pressed play. My own voice filled the room. Shaking but clear. Protection only. No touch without permission. Right to leave when the threat is gone. The officer's face shifted. He glanced at my throat and then away. A woman stepped in behind him wearing a neat suit and calm eyes. Ethics Counsel. She said, "On record, this Omega is not detained. On record, this Omega requested protective custody due to credible threat. Proceed carefully." The officer swallowed and asked who complained. A shell entity. The counsel said. The counterparty on the contract. They claim this Omega pledged life service and is being withheld. Pledged life service. Like I was a shipment delayed. The officer turned to me. Do you want to leave? I stared at the open doorway and felt the world outside waiting like a net. Then I looked at the Enigma and saw only patience. No smile. No hunger. Just control aimed outward, not at me. I whispered, I want to live. The officer hesitated. There is another issue, he said. The complaint includes a trigger clause. If the pledged Omega leaves without release authorization, the penalty activates. The cold spread through my chest again. Penalty. A gun disguised as ink. Deadman clause. The officer added, we do not know what enforcement means. The counsel did not flinch. It means they can act without courts. She said, it means they can claim breach and move fast. The Enigma voice stayed calm. So leaving could kill him. The officer did not deny it. He left after taking notes and timestamps. The door shut and the suite felt smaller. The counsel opened her laptop. We need the counterparty key. She said, the contract has a release code. Without it, the deadman clause stays armed. Court is slow and this is not a court weapon. My stomach twisted. My signature was a trap and time was the tightening wire. The Enigma looked at me. We move you off-site, he said. Less eyes, less leaks. You keep your boundaries. You keep your exit. But you do not walk alone. I should have demanded distance. Instead, I remembered the message that said, now we know where you are. This floor was already compromised. I nodded once. We used a private elevator into an underground garage. A car waited with quiet guards who looked at the floor when he passed. Inside the back seat, my patch felt thin again. Stress made my scent press against it like it wanted out. The Enigma noticed. Look at me, he said. I did. His eyes were steady. He lifted his hand where I could see it. An anchor. Nothing more. Breathe with me, he said. In. The panic eased 1 inch at a time. D. The Omega must affirm the claim is voluntary. Registry format. On record. The Enigma did not look at him. He looked at me. Your choice, he said. If you refuse, I will find another way. I will not trade your consent for speed. The liaison swallowed. There is no other way, he said. The deadman clause is armed. If you delay, they act. Refuse and die. Agree and be owned. The trap tightened. I forced myself to ask what the registry required. The liaison opened the case and showed a tablet. A simple statement. Claim accepted and protection requested. Then a line beneath it that made my throat close. Duration indefinite unless released by both parties. I looked at the Enigma. You said I could leave later. He nodded once. Then I will give you a key, he said. A unilateral release clause witnessed by my ethics counsel. If I ever refuse, you use it and you walk away. The liaison blinked. That is not standard. The Enigma voice stayed calm. I will make it standard. Something in my chest shifted. Not trust yet. But the shape of safety became possible. He called his ethics counsel. Her voice was steady. I am recording consent and I am drafting a unilateral release now. She said, I will arrive with the document in 10 minutes. While we waited, the Enigma stayed across the room. Distance on purpose. He did not touch me. He did not soften his gaze. He simply held the space like a barrier between me and the world. The counsel arrived and placed 2 pages in front of me. It stated I could end the claim unilaterally after the threat was resolved. It stated no retaliation. It stated my body remained mine. The Enigma signed without hesitation. The counsel stamped it and handed me a copy. A key in my hands. My own exit. I breathed. Then I lifted my eyes to the tablet. I want to live, I said. I want this contract dead. I will confirm the claim if the release clause stands. The Enigma nodded. It stands. I pressed the record. My voice shook, but it was mine. I accept the Enigma claim for protection and safety. I do this voluntarily. I keep my right to leave through the unilateral release clause. The tablet beeped and asked for his confirmation. He looked at me first. Are you sure? He asked. No one had asked me that in a crisis before. I swallowed. Yes. He spoke into the tablet. I accept responsibility. I will uphold the release clause. I will not violate consent. Claim status pending code entry appeared. The liaison entered the release code with shaking fingers. The screen flashed green. Deadman clause disarmed. Relief hit my lungs like air after drowning. Then the liaison phone buzzed. His face drained. Sir. He whispered. They anticipated this. Secondary clause activated. The tablet flashed a new message. Claim confirmed. Pledged Omega transfer authorized. Immediate pickup location provided. Pickup. Transfer. Words that made my skin crawl. They just sent your location to their retrieval team. The liaison said. And now the claim is public. The Enigma stepped in front of me. His voice stayed calm. Then they come to me. My skin flushed with shame. I imagined cameras eating my face and headlines calling me reckless and him cruel. I imagined strangers deciding my consent was not real because they wanted a simpler story. My stomach turned at the thought of my voice being replayed like entertainment. The Enigma kept his body between me and the door, but his words were only for me. If you want the claim ended now, I will do it. He said. We will find another way. I will take the risk. He was offering to lose his shield to save my dignity. I shook my head slowly. If you end it, they win. I whispered. They wrote this trap for my fear. I will not hand it back to them. The security screen by the door flickered. A live notice appeared. Building lockdown initiated by external authority. Media access requested. Welfare stream required. Public stage. The 4th story. An Omega and an Enigma on camera. The Enigma looked back at me with one question in his eyes. Would I still choose him when the whole city started watching? The lockdown notice stayed on the screen like a threat written in polite language. They wanted a welfare stream. They wanted my fear on camera. They wanted the word claim to sound like a cage. The Ethics Council's voice came through the speaker calm and steady. Then we control it. She said, we show consent. We show the release clause. We show the fraud. My stomach twisted. I hated being seen. I hated strangers deciding my truth. The Enigma looked at me. You can refuse, he said. If you refuse, I will fight privately. Slower, uglier, but you will not be used. He was offering me the softer path even if it cost him. The choice pressed on my ribs. I touched the paper in my pocket. My unilateral release clause. My key. We do it, I said. But I speak. Not them. He nodded. Always. A small crew arrived with 2 officers. No one crowded me. Everyone watched the Enigma like he was weather. The council stood beside the lens like a law made human. The first question was loaded. Are you being held against your will? My hands shook. I looked into the camera and forced my voice to stay steady. I have a key, I said. I can leave. This claim was accepted for protection because a fraudulent contract targeted my signature. No touch without permission. My consent is recorded. The council played the recorder. My own words filled the room. Shaking but clear. The officer nodded once. The story shifted in the air. Then the security liaison phone buzzed. He flinched. The Enigma saw it. Show me, he said. After a long silence, he spoke. They will try to say I coerced you. he said. So you will have choices in writing. You can end the claim after this is resolved. You can leave my reach. If you ever feel unsafe, you leave. No alpha had ever offered me an exit before offering protection. I whispered, "Why are you doing this?" He looked out at the wet streets. Then he answered with quiet honesty. "Because no one owns you," he said. "Not them. Not me." The car rose into a quiet penthouse level. The space was dim and spare. No luxury clutter. Only clean lines and silence. He guided me to a couch and placed water within reach. Then he stayed across the room. Distance on purpose. His phone buzzed. He read one message and his expression did not change. But his voice lowered. "They found the key holder," he said. "And they are bringing him here." My fingers curled into the blanket on my lap. If the key holder came from the people who bought my signature, then they were close enough to smell my fear. I watched Enigma and realized he had spoken more to protect me than most people spoke to know me. Still, his face stayed unreadable. Control like armor. I wondered what it would cost him to keep choosing me anyway. I didn't know it then, and my heart wasn't ready to accept what my instincts were screaming, but something had already shifted between us, and there was no going back. If you're feeling what I felt in that moment, then you understand why I need you to stay with me through this journey. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens when he finally breaks his silence, because I promise you it will shatter everything you thought you knew about us. The doorbell sounded once and the apartment went quiet. The Enigma checked the corridor camera and spoke into his collar. "Bring him in," he said. No pressure. 2 guards entered first. Between them walked a man in a clean suit with careful eyes. I recognized him from the tower, corporate security liaison, a man who smiled at executives and never saw assistants. So the leak was inside. He held a slim case like it was sacred. "Sir," he said, "I have the release key." But the counterparty added conditions. My stomach tightened. Conditions always meant someone else's hands on my life. "They want confirmation," he sighed. The liaison hesitated. The Enigma did not raise his voice. He only waited until fear stopped pretending it was loyalty. The liaison turned the screen. "Retrieve the Omega now. If you fail, you become the penalty." The liaison whispered that he was forced. He whispered they threatened his family. He whispered he delivered the contract because he was afraid. I felt anger and a strange understanding at the same time. Fear makes people cruel when they think cruelty is armor. The Enigma spoke into his collar. "Intercept all entries," he said. "No harm. Hold them for the police." From the hall came elevator chimes and hurried footsteps. Then silence. A radio crackled and the officer listened. "Retrieval team detained in the lobby," he said. "No injuries." My lungs emptied in relief. The crew tried to close with one last twist. "So you are safe because you belong to him now." The word "belong" made my skin crawl. Before I could answer, Enigma finally spoke to the camera. His voice was quiet and sharp and the room obeyed. "He does not belong to anyone," he said. "He chose protection. He can end it. If he ends it, I step back. If he keeps it, I guard it. That is all." His silence breaking like that hit me harder than any threat. A public promise that my consent mattered more than his image. The broadcast ended. The crew left. The penthouse returned to quiet. I sat on the couch and finally trembled. Relief and exhaustion poured through me. The Enigma stayed across the room. Distance on purpose. "You can end the claim now," he said. "If you want." I touched my key again. My exit. My control. "Not yet," I whispered. "Not because I am trapped. Because I am still healing. Because you kept your promises when it was hardest." He nodded once. "Then we go slowly," he said. The quiet after danger always felt strange. My body kept waiting for the next hand to grab me. Instead, there was only rain on glass and a man who treated my boundaries like law. I looked at him and realized his protection had never demanded closeness. He had not tried to earn gratitude with touch. He had not turned my fear into leverage. He had only stayed. Presence. Authority aimed outward. I asked what happened next. He said the contract would be evidenced by morning. He said the shell would collapse. Then he paused as if words were difficult. If you ever want the claim to become something more, it must be your idea. He said, your timing. Until then, I will be quiet and patient. I did not say yes to forever. I only reached out and placed my hand on his sleeve for one heartbeat. A small thank you that felt like the beginning of trust. That's how my world changed and how I found home in the last place I expected. If the story made you feel something deep and real, then I create these emotional worlds every single week for hearts like yours that crave connection that goes beyond words. Subscribe so you never miss the moment when two broken souls find each other in the darkness. Your support means everything, and it lets me keep bringing you stories that understand what you're searching for. Hit that subscribe button and let's feel everything together, because you deserve stories that see you.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more emotional stories.